Hello. I wanted to make a little video, excuse me, kind of giving folks an indication of what I've been up to. I haven't been doing a lot of videos of recording guitars and things like that I used to do, which I hope to get back to doing. But I've been doing my guitar tracking and recording room complete overhaul. It'll be a full 1 year in about 2 weeks. So I've spent 12 consecutive months working on this room and the contents of it and everything else. So I'm down to the final stage, right? I've got the PC ordered with all the software. I was supposed to pick it up, or at least I thought I was, somewhere between Thursday and Friday this week. So I took Thursday and Friday off, and I was going to have a 4-day week to work with the new PC and software. And lo and behold, it's not going to be ready on Monday. Well, that's okay, because I had other things to do with the 2 days off. And one of the things that I wanted to do with this guitar tracking room was to make it as guitar friendly and record friendly as I could, as rapidly as possible. And I wanted to just reach over and pick up a guitar I wanted and play it. I wanted to reach over and pick up an acoustic guitar that I wanted and play it and record it. Just boom, just like that. As easy to use and enjoyable to use as possible and as functional as possible. So the problem with this is that I've got, and have had a couple of these multiple guitar stands where you can clean the guitars up, set them in there. But Nashville has got lots and lots of pollen and lots of dust. And it's remarkable how fast a nice, clean guitar will get dusty and grimy. It's just unbelievable. It's just like, bam. I don't know what it is. But anyway, so I thought, okay, I want to solve that problem, and I want my guitars to be record and play ready as best as I can and keep them that way. So I set about trying to do that and making some changes in some things. So let me bring some stuff into camera here. Yep-de-doo. Just hang with me for a minute. I'm doing this for a reason. But you can see that these roll. Right? So I've put all this together and I built what I guess I refer to as guitar tents for my guitar arsenal. So in order to do this, right, I just picked up some clear shower curtains, outer shower curtains, and cut them up and then stapled them. So anyway, it's remarkable how much longer those will stay clean. I've had this one for about a month and a half, and it works beautifully. So I was like, okay, I'm down to cleaning my acoustic guitars and getting them all set up to put in this one. And that's an ordeal. If you've ever cleaned a guitar or know anything about it, you can spend a good amount of time. So anyway, let's go ahead so you can see these guys. All right. And obviously this is not scripted. I put some thought into it, but this is not scripted. So I'm going to start polishing and restringing these 3 acoustics. That's what I was going to do. So this is where the traffic part comes in. Traffic and whatever else. So I go to Guitar Center, drive I-65 south. It's 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, something like that. I get the 3 sets of strings and whatever I needed, and I get back home. And I start with the very first guitar, which is this one. So I take this one and I look at it, and lo and behold, this string peg is missing. The G string is just flopping around. Now, I've been playing the guitar 39 years now. I have never lost one of these. Never lost one of these. So I'm sitting there looking at this thing, and it's all dusty and grimy and just not in playing condition. And it's sort of like, okay, what am I going to do? It makes no sense to replace the other 5 strings, because you got to buy a set of these pegs anyway. You buy them in sets. I mean, you might be able to find someplace that sells them singular, but you buy them in sets. So, okay, well, I guess just as I got started, it's time to turn around and go right back to Guitar Center. So I'm driving to Guitar Center, and I get to, I drive through East Nashville. I get to the interstate, and I see the interstate now. It's getting 3:30 or 4 o'clock. It's a parking lot. It's an absolute parking lot. And it's like, man, I don't want to do this. So I decide I'm going to go down to 8th Avenue and follow that down as it turns into Franklin Road. So I drive down and I go through the roundabout, and I'm driving down the road. I'm trying to get some replacement acoustic string pegs here, bridge pegs. And I'm driving in the left lane, and to my right I see this guitar store as I drive past it. And I already drove past it, and I thought, you know, I bet they had those string pegs. Every place has got acoustic string pegs. I don't need to make it to Guitar Center. You can just get them anywhere. And so I thought, well, if I see another music store, I'll stop. And I'm driving in the left-hand lane, and it's 4 lanes, 2 this way, 2 this way. And to my left, I see Gruen's Guitars. Gruen's Guitars. Now, if you're a guitar player or familiar with stringed instruments, you know that in Nashville, Gruen's Guitars is an internationally famous and world famous guitar shop. If you want to buy, if you have $100,000 to spend on a guitar, you can do it. If you have $150,000 to spend on a ukulele or something like that, you can do it. I've personally been in there, you know, years ago. A fellow worked there, had me come in and check some things out. Each of the guitars cost $30,000 or more. In other words, one of them was 45 grand for a single archtop guitar. So Gruen's Guitars got some really nice stuff, and rare stuff, and collectible stuff. But they've got some other nice guitars that are more affordable. Anyway, I go in, I'm going to get a little string peg. That's all I want, is the bridge peg for the string. And so I go to the front counter, and I show the guy the peg. I got 2 of these, one's broken and one's missing, and what would be a good replacement for these? And he explains, you know, I'll get what would be best is the ebony instead of the plastic. It'd be best to get ebony, and these are Martin pegs. I was like, well, figures, it's Gruen's, right? There would be nothing that's not top of the line. So I get the pegs, and I pay for them, and I'm talking to the guy, and he says, well, he's pretty much an acoustic guitar person. I said, okay, you know, wow, I've not been to your new location here on 8th Avenue. And I said, how long have you been here? And he said, well, we've been here about 6 years. And I said, my goodness, it's been 6 years since I've been into Gruen's guitars. And so Gruen's Guitars, and I see some picks sitting there that you can just take a pick. And I said, well, you mind if I if I'm in Gruen's, I got to at least play a couple of guitars. He says, don't worry, not a problem. We don't mind at all. And so I've got this good pick that I borrowed from them, and I'm just kind of roaming around, and you know, I'm seeing D'Angelico archtops. I'm seeing, you know, over here as I'm standing, there's a Gibson ES 175, and there's a half a dozen Paul Reed Smith 10 tops here, and there's just unbelievable amounts of acoustic guitars, and probably half of them are Martins, and a quarter of those might be pre-World War II Martins. You know, like, Jiminy Cricket. So I'm roaming around, and there's all these vintage Strats and Telecasters and stuff, and it's like, I was afraid to even look at any of the Strats or Telecasters. They'd have at least, my guess would be 5 digits in the price tag, and they may well have 6. So I'm looking around, and I see a set of 3 Gibsons hanging on the wall, and I take a look at the price tag hesitantly and afraid to. It says $2,200. Well, I thought, well, that's not too bad. So I pick up this Gibson and I play it, and it was amazing. I've seen and had quality problems with Gibson guitars the last 10, 15, 20 years. Just all kinds of things that you wouldn't expect on an Ibanez or a Paul Reed Smith, just all kinds of workmanship problems. But this guitar had amazing wow factor. And what year is this? It's a 2017. I'm like, 2017? I don't recall 2017 being a particularly good year for Gibson guitar manufacturer, you know. And so I set it down. I pick up another Gibson, same exact model. In fact, this one's more expensive used. The first one was used. The more expensive one is in a signature model. It's $3,200, maybe $3,400 price tag. I pick it up and I play it, and there's just no wow factor. Just, yeah, I mean, it's a really nice guitar, but it's not. There isn't any wow factor. So I set it down. I pick up the third one. Now we're up to $4,500, $42 to $45, and it's the same model as the first one. It's just a different year, and largely the same model. And I pick it up and I play it, and it was like, yeah. I mean, I've been playing guitars 39 years, which is hard for me to believe. But the wow factor wasn't in either of these two guitars that were more expensive. So I went back to the first one, picked it up again, and I started playing on it. And it's like, there's something different about this guitar. There's something different here. And I'm looking at the bridge and the tailpiece, and I notice that they're both locking bridge and tailpiece. I don't know if you know what this is, like Tone Pros, where the bridge is locked down with a cap screw and set screws lock in the bridge so that they aren't held in by string tension, which gives you theoretically better contact or transfer from the strings to the body. And I believe it because I've got that on the Paul Reed Smith here. This is a Tone Pros bridge with a screw cap. So I'm looking at this, but it doesn't look like a Tone Pros. It looks different. It's got a hole in the middle. So anyway, I'm kind of hesitantly thinking, man, I don't want to make a fool of myself. This is Gruen, right? These people, I've been playing guitar 39 years. These two guys, in fact, the three of them working there, probably have forgotten more about guitars than I've ever known. So anyway, I take this Gibson up there and I set it down. I asked the first guy that I bought the string pegs from, is this a Tone Pros bridge and tailpiece? And he says, I don't know, I'm an acoustic guy. And the other guy standing next to him, he just got behind the counter, and he says, could be, I know they're really heavy. And I was like, well, that's interesting. So I'm looking at them, and I see they're not set up right. I know how they're supposed to be set. But man, this guitar is amazing. And I said, this guitar really stands out playing it versus the other ones of the same model. And he says, yes, it does. He says, it really does. And I'm like, what is it that's so special about this particular instrument? And he says, well, the only thing I can really say is Gibson had a really good week when they were building guitars. That was just a good week. Crew was happy and they were getting things done right. And I'm like, man, this is just remarkable. So I said, would you mind if I plug it in and play it? He says, okay. So we go to this little room, and again, it's Gruen's. What would you expect? Plugs me into a 1950-something or 60-something blackface Fender with some reverb, and I'm listening to this Gibson, and it's just sounding beautiful. Very, very musical. Not the easy, the Ibanez guitars that I've got, like these guys. These guys are the best playing guitars I've got. They are remarkable. And I'm sorry if you're a Fender or a Gibson snob, they just don't play as well as those Ibanez. And even the Paul Reed Smiths, right? Something like this. Beautiful instruments, great sounds, plays very, very nice. But they are not the Ibanez. So anyway, I'm playing this thing and I'm looking it over, and everything about it's a little top notch. And so I'm looking at the finish. It's beautiful finish. It's a little bit better. And I'm looking at the burst. It's not a full tobacco burst, you know. It fades to the outside. It's sort of like a brown burst or a honey burst. It's probably very close to honey colored. Everything is just really, really nice. And I'm playing this thing, this is just not adding up. This is just not adding up. Why is this particular instrument so different? And myself and the salesperson knew, but he didn't think to say anything about it. So anyway, what's different about this? So I come home and I start my string changing and everything, and I'm thinking about that price tag. Is, my goodness, I don't borrow money anymore. I got to come up with taxes. That's $2,500 to buy that thing. Lord. So I think about it all evening. And I'm thinking to myself, man, that guitar is not going to be there very long. I wouldn't expect, if anybody plays that thing. I'll consider it not a guitar emergency, but a guitar urgency. So what I did is I went back Friday to Gruen's Guitars. So that's Gruen's, right? See, I don't know if you can see it here. Gruen Guitars. World famous, internationally famous Gruen Guitars. And I bought this Gibson. And I asked the guy, does it have a hard shell case? And he says, yes, let me get it. You know, I've already agreed to buy it verbally. So he brings the hard shell case out and he says, hey, let me show you something. Whatever you do, don't lose this. You have got to keep your hands on this. And he reached in the case and he pulled this out. And I said, what is this? I've never seen one of those. He says, this is a certificate of authentication, or a certificate of authentication as a Gibson handmade custom shop guitar. Oh, now all of the pieces of the puzzle gets filled in. It is a Gibson handmade in the custom shop. They call it handmade. In the custom shop that used to be in Memphis, and it was closed recently, and it was made in 2017. So let me introduce to you the Honeyburst Gibson that I bought. This is a Gibson Custom Shop 335. I don't know if you can hear that. Beautiful guitar. And look at that finish. All right? Look at that. With the brown burst, they call it brown burst, I suppose. It's about the darkness of honey. And he told me that this doesn't have the standard pickups, it's got some other elite pickup in it. And I set these bridge things up and got them tightened down, and it became my newest member of my guitarsenal. My guitarsenal. So I told the guy, I said, you don't know what the odds are against me having purchased this guitar. The only reason I came into Gruen's is because there was a lot of traffic. And I just wanted to get an acoustic string peg. Well, $2,500 later, I come home with that. So anyway, here's my guitarsenal. It's all ready. I have my guitar tents to keep them all clean. I'm ready to rock and roll, or anything else I choose to do. Thanks for listening.